My name is Catherine Walters. I am receiving my license in pre-K through 3 and also my 4th, 5th endorsement.
And my name is Alex Bayer. I'm a graduate student in the MAT program focusing on math and science.
We all know that comprehension is very important in a language arts classroom. You learn comprehension strategies and utilize them when you're reading different texts. The main comprehension strategies taught in a 4th through 6th grade language arts classroom is as follows: making connections, questioning, visualizing, inferring, determining importance, graphic organizers, answering and generating questions, recognizing story structure, direct comprehension instruction, including modeling and guided practice.
I witnessed a lot of these strategies firsthand in my field experience this year in my 6th grade language arts classroom at Heritage Middle School in Westerville. For example, over my time there, we read both the books Tuck Everlasting and A Boy in Striped Pajamas. Throughout that, I witnessed multiple, whether it was full classroom, group assignment, partners, individual, something almost every day, something different. But they did a lot where they would stop and make connections to real life examples. My teacher did a great job questioning what they thought was going to happen next, either through inferring, or they could do visualization where they would, do a worksheet where they're either drawing the setting of what the student thinks is happening, or what the character could look like, amongst other things. She did a really good job stopping and using these different comprehension strategies for the students.
So again, we all know that comprehension is important in language arts. That's usually where you learn most of the strategies and utilize them. But today we are here to talk about how comprehension strategies are important and can be utilized in math, science, and social studies. Then we will be modeling a different comprehension strategy for each core subject, and we want you to pay attention to the strategy we model because it will come in handy later.
So the first subject we're going to focus on is math. Now, math, there was a 2016 U.S. News report that there have been a decline in test scores due to complex word problems that students are not able to understand. Basically, the wording of the different problems or the text of it is just too confusing for the students to hear or to read and understand. So, for example, I'll read off this problem for you just to get an idea of, type of question a student could hear. So the problem is, you bought a shirt that cost $97. Since you didn't have cash, you borrowed $50 from your mom and $50 from your dad. That gave you $100. Since the shirt is $97, you had $3 in change. You gave $1 to your mom and $1 to your dad, and you kept $1 for yourself. Now you owe $49 to your mom and $49 to your dad to give you $98 total, plus the $1 you had. So 98 plus 1 is now 99. So the question is, where did that last dollar go? So that right there, just to read off that problem, can easily get into a student's head, and a student can get lost in that. So one of the good ways for math that Catherine's here is going to show you is a comprehension strategy called visualization, where you read out the problem and you're able to draw it on the board and to better understand what is actually being said in the problem itself. So let's take a look at this example of visualization, reading comprehension.
So Alex is going to read out a problem, and I am going to model how you use visualization to multiply fractions.
So the question is, if 1 serving of juice is 1/5 liter, then how many liters are in 1/3?
So our word problem is asking, what is 1/5 times 1/3? I'm sorry that this is backwards on the camera. So first, we would create a box. We would bring down 1/5. Then horizontally, I will split this box into 5 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to shade in one of those sections. Then I'm going to bring down 1/3. And vertically, I will split this box into 3 sections. 1, 2, 3. Then I will shade in 1/3 of those sections. Then where it is shaded, where both sections come together and it's shaded, that's going to be your numerator. So that's 1. And the denominator is how many boxes you have in all. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So over 15. So the answer is 1/15. And this is a visual representation of how to multiply fractions. So the next subject we are going to look into is social studies. So a big part of social studies is identifying different perspectives, bias, and propaganda. Students have to ask questions if what they're reading is actually a fact or fiction, or if it's even coming from a legitimate source. Perspective goes along with the comprehension strategy of understanding who the characters are, the setting, the dialogue, their values, and the characters' beliefs. So a student might be reading something where they think the character is in the wrong or being racist, but they don't understand that that was actually the norm for that time frame. So Alex is going to model for you the comprehension strategy, recognizing story structure by asking a class about first person and third person perspective.
So again, this is the reading comprehension trying to, dang it. So again, this is the strategy recognizing story structure in the social studies classroom. So today, what I would have taught is we are reading the book, A Boy in a Striped Pajamas. It has to do with social studies because it has to do with World War II and the Holocaust. In this chapter, the main character, Bruno, is finally getting outside the house, walking down the fence that separates outside to where the concentration camp is. And he comes across a boy his own age sitting there. And as he comes closer and closer, he starts noticing different details about the boy. Like he has pale skin, he's a lot skinnier than he is. He's wearing the same pajamas that the rest of everyone is inside the fence. So, and as he gets closer and starts talking to the kid, he understands or starts to get to know him. He realizes he's just the regular kid like him. But little does Bruno know what goes on, and he finds out later. So, anyways, once we get through that chapter, I'll bring the class together, and we can start talking about different point of views, and amongst other things. But so in this example, I would just ask a student, like, hey, Becky, was Bruno in that chapter first or third person point of view?
Third person?
It actually wasn't third person, so that was a first person point of view in this chapter because Bruno was telling his own story and his own feelings about what he is seeing as he's walking closer and closer and sees the little boy Shmuel. So that's a typical question you could ask just to talk first, third point of view. We go with the different perspectives and propagandas and biases in different books. So again, this was recognizing story structure in social studies, and that was good.
So science is all about generating and answering questions because first students have to find a problem and have a basic understanding of the concept. Then they must create a hypothesis by inferring what they think is going to happen, and then they have to solve the problem by creating steps and modeling their experiment. So every aspect of a scientific experiment involves some sort of comprehension strategy. So for our third example, we are going to model how a teacher would use inferring to make a hypothesis for an experiment.
So before you actually carry out the experiment, you have to gather what you already know and infer and hypothesize what you think might happen. So for the experiment that we're going to do today, it's going to be where I would have a bowling ball hanging from a rope down here, and I would walk back and hold it to my face and then let it go where it goes all the way out and comes back. So what I would have the students do, obviously we would not be using bowling balls because we'd probably get fired for that, but what would have the students do is ask what they think might happen. Some could say it might come all the way back and crush me in the head. Some would say it might just stop. Some might say it might just stop right before my face. We don't know. And again, you could do this for a billion different experiments as you get through it. But this is just one quick example of showing inferring of what and hypothesizing what a student might think before you start an experiment.
So for our first example, we showed how in math it's important to use visualization as a comprehension strategy to help students comprehend word problems. For our second example, we showed how to use recognizing story structure to find first and third person narratives of a book. And for our third example, we used inferring to help make a hypothesis of a scientific experiment.
So while it's important to learn and model and teach these different strategies to learn in language arts, it is just as important, if not more important, to be able to utilize these different strategies, reading comprehension strategies in all math, science, social studies, and language arts. It's important in all four of them to really help the students with their reading and their comprehension skills.
Thank you.
Thanks.